2-star national parks. How can any national park be rated only 2 stars? Well, you're right. All national parks have at least one claim to fame. They all deserve to be 5 stars, but some of the 63 national parks are better than others. So by definition, some are 2 stars while others are 5 stars. I rated 18 out of 63 parks as 2 stars, or 29%. This is a result of enforcing a bell curve to the ratings. What do I mean when I say better? Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So these are my subjective ratings. Your list will certainly be different, so comment below with your list. I value natural beauty, ease of touring, short to medium hikes, and avoid crowds. You may like recreational activities like horseback riding or rugged backcountry hiking, but these are not for me. Having said that, however, I also try to rank the parks objectively, based on a number of factors such as visitation and proximity to people. The link to that video is in the description. I have visited all 63 national parks, so I feel like I'm qualified to compare them to each other. Which parks do I rate as 5 stars? There are only 6 of them. See the videos for parks that are rated 5, 4, 3, or 1 star. Again, the links are in the description. There are 2 types of parks in the 2-star category. First, parks that you should visit as part of a trip to see it and other attractions. Second, if you really like the dominant feature of the parks or its remoteness. Before we jump into the parks, be sure to subscribe and give this a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Thank you. First up on the list is Indiana Dunes National Park. Located near Gary, Indiana, just outside of Chicago, the namesake sand dune is on Lake Michigan. This is a relatively new park established in 2019 when it was redesignated from a national lakeshore to a national park. The scenery here is pretty, but not spectacular. The beaches are enjoyable, but fairly narrow. The views of the lakes is pretty, but marred by nearby industrial facilities. The hikes through the sand dunes, especially the West Beach area, was very nice with varying scenery. The Bailey Chelberg Homestead provides a dose of history. This park is easily accessible, fairly small, and easy to tour. It is a very enjoyable park to spend a day hiking or just hanging out at the beach. Over 2.7 million people visit per year. However, 1.5 million of them are in the months of June, July, and August, so it can be crowded. If you're in the Chicago area, this is a very nice park to visit. Shenandoah National Park. Shenandoah National Park is essentially the northern part of the Blue Ridge Parkway, stretching 105 miles from the North Carolina border to Northern Virginia. It is very scenic, but not dramatic. It travels along a ridge of the Blue Ridge Mountain, with very nice views and various overlooks on both sides. In the fall, when the leaves are turning, the colors are spectacular. Shenandoah has many great hiking trails. Many of them lead to waterfalls. It's easy to tour. Just drive the Skyline Drive and stop at the overlooks and do some hiking. It's a great addition to visit the Great Smoky National Park nearby, or when you visit the DC, Virginia area. Next up is the largest national park in the US, Wrangell St. Elias National Park in Alaska. Let's get a few statistics out of the way for this ginormous park. This park has 8 million acres, the size of 6 Yellowstones. It's bigger than Switzerland with taller peaks. Together with the Canadian national parks on its border and the Glacier Bay National Park, they form the largest protected area in the world. 9 out of the tallest 15 peaks in North America are in this park. A third of the park is a big ice field that feeds more glaciers than anywhere else. Yes, this park is big. Ironically, the most visited part of the park is an old mining town, Kennecott. It's an interesting place to visit. If you want to hike on a glacier, Root Glacier is a mere 2-mile hike from Kennecott. Crampons are highly recommended. Kennecott is not easy to reach. It's a 65-mile drive on unpaved, often rutted road from Chitina to McCarthy. You walk across a bridge and then you have to take a shuttle van for another 5 miles to Kennecott. If you can afford it, flight seeing is the best way to appreciate the vastness of this park. Staying in the great state of Alaska, let's go north to the Arctic Circle. Gates of the Arctic is the northernmost park, well inside the Arctic Circle. It's remote with no roads and no trails. Two types of people visit this park. First, the list type. These are folks, like me, who want to visit a place just because it's there and it's on the list. We typically take a flight seeing tour. We touch down inside the park boundary, hang out for a while, and then fly back. Second, the truly hardy type. These folks get dropped off by an air shuttle. They hike or kayak for multiple days in total wilderness and get picked up at a pre-arranged location. The sights from the air is fantastic. For some, the satisfaction of completing a list is great. For others, being self-reliant and in total isolation from the civilized world is the thrill. Because it's so remote and expensive, few people visit. It's often the least visited park with about 10,000 visitors per year, and nearly all of them in the few summer months. Staying in Alaska, let's go to the other park that's in the Arctic Circle, Kobuk Valley National Park. Like Gates of the Arctic, Kobuk Valley is remote, inside the Arctic Circle, hard to reach with no roads or hiking trails. Most people fly in via a bush plane or a float plane, but some reach the park via a multi-day float trip on the Kobuk River. The same two types of people who visit Gates of the Arctic also visit Kobuk Valley. The claim to fame for Kobuk is a large sand dune. If you want to visit a sand dune in the Arctic, or just want to get away from it all, this is the park for you. Like Gates of the Arctic, you have to really want to visit to be there. Speaking of sand dunes, let's go to the park with the biggest sand dune in the US, the Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. The sand dune in this park is ginormous. The park is mostly a huge pile of sand, 25% bigger than Manhattan. The tallest peak is 755 feet, about half the height of the Empire State Building. There are no real trails on the sand dune. You can go wherever you want, but beware, hiking on the soft sand is very strenuous. The sun is relentless and reflects off of the sand. It can get very hot, especially in the summer. You must bring lots of water and stay hydrated. You can go sand sledding or frolic in the temporary stream in the spring. Besides the big pile of sand, there are trails that go to Mondano Lake at nearly 12,000 feet and the peak of Mount Herald at more than 13,000 feet. Visit this park if you want to play in the biggest sandbox in the US. Now let's go to another sand dune, the White Sands National Park. White Sands National Park is in New Mexico and was redesignated from a national monument in 2019. It borders the White Sands Missile Test Range. While not nearly as big or as tall, the sand here is white as snow. It's easy to tour. Just drive down the 8-mile Dunes Road and stop along the way for hikes, ranging from an easy half-mile walk on the boardwalk to a 5-mile trail on the sand dune. Like the Great Sand Dunes, you can pretty much go anywhere you want on the sand dune and go sand sledding. Sunglasses is a must here. It's blindingly bright under the sun. It can also get very windy. Beware of getting sandblasted. White Sands is fun to visit, but has only one feature. If you are in the southeast New Mexico area, it is well worth the visit. Next up is the Petrified Forest National Park. The claim to fame here is the petrified wood in the desert, where wood turns into stone over millions of years. It's amazing to see what looks like logs but are really stones. The 29-mile drive is a great and easy way to see the park. From north to south, it goes through colorful desert scenery, with petroglyphs and desert flowers when in season. There are various hikes along the way to see petrified wood. The 3/4-mile Crystal Forest Loop on the southern end of the park is the highlight of the park with lots of petrified logs. Next to the Rainbow Forest Museum, also in the southern part of the park, is the Giant Logs Trail. Less than half a mile, it has large petrified logs, some with diameter over 3 feet. Petrified wood is a third hardest material, 250 million years in the making. If you want to see petrified wood and learn about how logs become petrified, this is the park to see. Next, we go to the park with the most misleading vegetation number, North Cascades National Park. Despite being close to the Seattle metro area, North Cascades National Park was the 57th most visited park in 2023 with only 40,000 visitors. About half the number of visitors to the much harder to reach Rangosa Alliance National Park. It has beautiful mountain scenery with great hiking trails. But why does it have so few visitors? Well, it's really a technicality. The park has a northern side and a southern side, divided by the Ross Lake National Recreation Area. Highway 20, the main road in the area, is entirely in the National Recreation Area. All the shorter hikes are within the boundaries of the recreation area. Even the Park Visitor Center is in the recreation area. So, technically speaking, North Cascades National Park does not have any paved roads. You have to hike your way into the park boundary. The North Cascades National Complex consists of the North Cascade National Park, Ross Lake National Recreation Area, and Lake Chelan National Recreation Area. The whole complex has nearly 1 million visitors in 2023. There are beautiful turquoise-colored lakes and excellent hiking trails right along Highway 20, including some very nice short trails next to the National Park Visitor Center. But they are technically outside of the national park boundary. There are over 300 miles of trails inside the national park boundary and over 300 glaciers, the most of any park outside of Alaska. It's a haven for backcountry hikers with plenty of challenges. For most of us, however, we are visiting the North Cascades National Park Complex with its beautiful lakes and mountain scenery. Let's go to another park for great hiking and mountain scenery, Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Guadalupe Mountains National Park in Texas has El Capitan, the signature formation of the park. This park is a hiker's paradise with over 80 miles of hiking trails, from easy nature walks to moderate hikes into canyons to the ultimate day hike, a strenuous 8.4-mile round-trip hike to Guadalupe Peak, the highest point in Texas. There are no scenic drives in this park, but Highway 62/180 provides some nice views of El Capitan and the Guadalupe Peak. To truly visit, you need to hike. Peaks with panoramic views, canyons, springs, and grottos are all attractions to this park, but be prepared for at least a little bit of hiking to enjoy it. Now, let's go to a park with amazing man-made structure from the ancient times, Mesa Verde National Park. While the scenery at Mesa Verde is nice, the main draw of this park are the cliff dwellings made by the Puebloan people nearly 1,000 years ago. The Mesa Top Road took us through 700 years of Pueblo history, from 650 to 1350 AD. You can clearly see the progression of dwellings from the simple to the sophisticated. It was very well done and fascinating. The main attractions are the various cliff dwellings. These are homes built into the crevices of the cliff. They provide natural shelter, and the need to build walls are only 2 or 3 sides, not the normal 5 sides. Besides viewing from a distance, there are ranger-led tours for some of the dwellings. For the latest tour information, visit recreation.gov. The largest of these dwellings is the Cliff Palace, once home to over 100 people. A tour of the balcony house requires climbing rope ladders and squeezing through tight spaces. If you're into Pueblo history, or wonder why and how people of ancient times built these amazing structures, Mesa Verde is the park for you. Now, let's go to the park with the steepest and the darkest canyon, the Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. Although they are both canyons, Black Canyon is the opposite of Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is deep and wide, while Blind Canyon is less steep but much narrower. The steepness of the canyon is unique. Grand Canyon averages 10 miles wide and a mile deep. Blind Canyon is only 1,100 feet wide rim to rim, and only 40 feet wide at the river, its narrowest point. At its widest point, it's only a half mile rim to rim. If you want to see a steep canyon, this is the one. Whereas Grand Canyon is colorful and bright, much of Black Canyon is in the shadows and dark. In fact, parts of the canyon only gets 33 minutes of sunlight a day. South Rim Road has many overlooks that give you different views of the canyon. The road ends at Warner Point with an excellent 1.5 mile trail. While the park is not crowded at any time, if you want even more seclusion, go to the North Rim with an unpaved road and 6 overlooks with nearly no people. While dusty, the road can easily handle sedans. There is no official trail from rim to the river. However, there are wilderness routes from South and North Rim that are not clearly marked. They are steep. The Gunnison route, for example, descends 1,800 feet in just 1.5 miles. Only the most hardy should attempt these hikes. A special plug here for a very dark night sky. On a clear night, the Milky Way is clearly visible. Black Canyon is a different experience than the Grand Canyon. If you want to see a steep canyon, this is the one for you. Now, how about we go from a canyon to a cave? Mammoth Cave National Park. Why visit Mammoth Cave? Because it's the largest cave system in the world. It has 426 miles of explored area. The Rotunda, one of the largest rooms in the cave, is about 1/4 acre. A ticket is required to enter the cave. There is one self-guided tour of 3/4 of a mile, but most of the tours are guided. There are many tours to choose from, including some that are wheelchair accessible. The tours range from 1/4 mile to an all-day 5.5 mile tour that requires a lot of crawling in tight spaces. Mammoth Cave is drier than Carlsbad Cavern, but not as pretty. But it has more history with bigger rooms. It offers less freedom to self-explore, however. There are hiking trails and pretty scenery above ground, but the cave here is the main attraction. Next up is Voyageurs National Park. Voyageurs National Park is in northern Minnesota and is on the Canadian border. The feature attractions here are the lakes. The 3 pristine interconnected lakes provide great summer recreation with houseboats dotting the scene. A houseboat is a great way to explore the lake while enjoying the seclusion. There are many trails in the park, some accessible by road while others are only accessible by boat. Water activities such as fishing, swimming, and boating are enjoyed by many. There is abundant wildlife such as bald-head eagle and river otters. For those without a boat, there are many guided boat tours, ranging from 1.5 hours to 6.5 hours during the summer and fall, including a night tour for stargazing. A trip to Kettle Falls is interesting, visiting a hotel with a slanted floor right on the Canadian border. During the winter, there are plenty of opportunities for winter activities such as snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, and ice fishing. Winter gear is available for rental. You may have opportunity to see the northern lights here. Voyageurs National Park is a great place to enjoy a large, pristine lake with excellent hikes along the lakeshore. From one lake to another now, let's go to a park on Lake Superior, the Isle Royale National Park. Isle Royale is hard to get to. It is the least visited park in the lower 48 states with only 29,000 visitors in 2023, more than half are backcountry campers. It takes a long boat ride or a floatplane ride to reach Isle Royale. There are no roads in the park. Travel around the 41-mile-long, 9-mile-wide lake is by foot or boat only. You won't see many people once you get on the trails. These are definitely national parks people. The scenery is pretty but not spectacular. Lake Superior can be gorgeous or angry, depending on the weather. The island has a few lakes and historical structures. There are moose, but they are not often seen. Recently, wolves were reintroduced to the island. The season is short. The park is only open from April to September. If you like backcountry camping and hiking, and want to get away from civilization and crowd for a few days in a pristine environment, Isle Royale is an excellent choice. Now, let's go to another park that is an island and also hard to reach, the Dry Tortugas National Park. Unlike Isle Royale, where the main attraction is hiking and camping, Dry Tortugas is about history, marine life, and a big fort. Located 70 miles west of Key West, it takes a 45-minute seaplane ride or a 2.5-hour boat ride to get there. Fort Jefferson dominates the Garden Key, the biggest island in the park. Its history is fascinating. It's lots of fun to walk around the fort, along the moat, and take the guided tour. Equally interesting is snorkeling and relaxing on the beach. It is the best snorkeling in South Florida. The ferry provides snorkeling equipment. You can camp overnight, but space is limited. If you have your own boat, you can explore much more of the 99 square mile park. Most of it is underwater. There are many other islands within the park boundary that are accessible only by private boat, including Loggerhead Key, the largest island in the park with a lighthouse and a shipwreck. Dry Tortugas is for history and snorkeling enthusiasts. Continuing in the tropics and water, let's go to Key Biscayne National Park on the Atlantic side of Florida. Like Dry Tortugas, most of Key Biscayne National Park's 270 square miles is underwater. This park is all about ocean water activities. To really enjoy the park, you need to be on the water, either with your own boat or on a boat tour. There are various boat tours to the islands off of the Florida coast. Some of them have historical meaning, like Adams Key, where multiple presidents had their retreat. Boca Chica has a lighthouse that provides a fantastic view of the Miami skyline. The water is generally calm, so kayaking and canoeing are popular activities. There are designated water trails that weave through the thick mangroves. Fishing, wild bird viewing, and snorkeling are also very popular. The wildlife range from sea turtles to manatees to bottlenose dolphins to hundreds of birds and even the American crocodile. You can even go lobstering on certain areas and certain times of the year. Biscayne is less than an hour from Miami, making it very easy to access. Even if you stay on land, there are nice trails that are easy and great for bird watching. Biscayne is a park for you if you like water activities. Now let's go to the most remote national park. It's in the South Pacific. National Park of the American Samoa. American Samoa is a territory of the United States, well south of the equator. It's 2,600 miles due south of Hawaii. Visiting this national park is really visiting American Samoa. It is a tropical island with nice beaches, but without tourists. The national park is located on 4 islands. Because it's so remote, it is the second least visited with only 12,000 visitors in 2023. This park is not just about tropical island scenery. It's also about the mountains, and most importantly, the culture of the Samoan people. The pace here is decidedly relaxed. The Samoans are careful to preserve their culture. They are friendly and welcoming. The island is highly Christian. Sundays are reserved for worship and family, with most places closed. This park is for bucket listers, people who like tropical islands, and people who want to experience the Samoan culture. The National Park Visitor Center even has a certificate for those who complete the National Park list at American Samoa. So it must happen often enough. There you have it, the 18 national parks in the 2-star category. These are parks to visit if the theme is what you're looking for, or to combine it with another nearby attraction for a great trip. Don't forget to check out the videos on the parks ranked objectively, the 5, 4, 3, and 1-star parks, and each of the parks. The links are in the description below. If you made it this far in the video, You must like it, so please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Do you agree with my ratings? Which of these parks should be rated higher and which should be rated lower? Leave a comment below and let's have a fun debate.